Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Vamanadeva ki jai. And tomorrow is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance day, ki jai. Hare Krishna. So we'll try to speak with the blessings of the Vaishnavas and Srila Prabhupada a little bit about some of the glories of Lord Vamanadeva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram. We can do it together. Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Dayam Udiraya Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan. Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and Srila Prabhupada, the translator and commentator. By regular attendance in classes of the Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart. Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna. Om Aginati Mirandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chaksu Umilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was certainly born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master very kindly forced open my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. And what's the result of that is that one just is totally indebted to the spiritual master for doing that. And there's no way that one can officially or equally pay back that by rendering service, but one can only hope to continue in the service of Srila Prabhupada and offer whatever little endeavor we can for his glorification forever. Hare Krishna. So the story of Vamanadeva is so interesting. Krishna appears in so many multitude of forms, and those forms, they are all endowed with the same potency of the Lord himself. But they don't always, all the forms of Krishna that he manifests don't always exhibit all of the potencies. They sometimes exhibit just what's necessary to get the job done. He has a particular purpose, just like Lord Nrsingadev. When Lord Nrsingadev came to protect Prahlad, to encourage Prahlad, etc., and by chance, or not by chance, side job was to destroy Hiranyakashipu. He exhibited that tremendous power for that time and circumstance, and that was the end of his activity. So and similarly different, Lord Vamanadeva had a specific purpose and a specific devotee that he was protecting, and a whole little plan that he was executing, and that was the majority of the pastimes that we're familiar with of Lord Vamanadeva. So it's the history of Vamanadeva's appearance is in the 8th canto, and particularly chapter 18 starts the description of Lord Vamanadeva, but the story of Lord Vamanadeva starts way before that. Starts way back in the heavenly planets with Indra and the demigods. Particularly this story of Indra. And what happens was circumstantially, Indra was one time sitting in his assembly hall, and the devotees were praising Indra and encouraging him for his great deeds and this and that. And the singers were singing and the dancers were dancing and so on. So much opulence was there exhibited. And his spiritual master just happened to come in, Sukracharya, Brihaspati, sorry, wrong lineage there. Brihaspati came in, but Indra was so overwhelmed. And this is the problem of extreme opulence and extreme power. Sometimes it goes to your head, and you think, yes, I'm the source of this power, and I'm the source of this opulence, and I'm so great because I'm here doing this, and other people aren't so great. So he minimized the importance of his spiritual master when he walked in the assembly, and didn't acknowledge his presence, didn't offer him respect, didn't do anything. In one sense, you could say, he totally ignored him. And Brihaspati just catching that vibe, that's all. There wasn't an exchange, there wasn't a verbal offense, there wasn't anything like that. But just catching that vibration from him, that mentality, Brihaspati thought, okay, I'm out of here, guys. And he left the assembly. And for that offense of disregarding his spiritual master, gradually things went downhill for the demigods, gradually. So because of their offense, they became weakened, because of Indra's offense, and then all the demigods had to share in that offense. So Indra became weakened, the demigods somehow or other heard of the offense committed, and they thought, oh, now they're in a weak position, let us offer some prayers to our spiritual masters and become more powerful, and then the demons and the demigods are always, good and bad elements are always, clashing for supremacy. And just like we hear in Bhagavad Gita, in the modes of material nature, good and ignorance, they're never constant. It's never mode of goodness forever. They're always vying for supremacy, and they're mixed within each one of us, and they're also mixed within environmental situations. So sometimes goodness prevails, sometimes passion, mixture of those things, and ignorance. So the demigods took advantage of that offense by Indra and became more powerful through the grace of their spiritual master, Sukracharya. And when the demons became more powerful, they started conquering all directions. Lower planetary systems, no problem. Middle planetary systems, no problem. And the planetary systems, they had no problem in conquering the demigods, who were previously very, very powerful. But at this time, weakened because of offense, they became less alert, and less powerful. So there's, we hear and we repeat in our daily activities, one has to be careful of making offenses and this and that. And here's an extreme example, but it's an example of that, how offenses play out in your life, in our lives, how they play out. They change, in Nectar of Devotion, the second half of Nectar of Devotion explains that offenses are one's consciousness to the extent that the taste that one has in executing devotional service, the taste that one gets in a good kirtan, in the association of devotees, in doing different aspects of devotional service, gradually diminishes. And it's that gradual diminishment that makes one unaware what's happening, thinking that, the kirtans just aren't as good anymore. The prasadam isn't that great either. It must be in real Maya, or, they're this, or they're that, they're this. And I feel like I don't want to be here anymore. But actually, it's because of the offenses that the taste for devotional service diminishes and is taken away. And I think I'm making that decision on my own, by my choice, but it comes to me because of my actions. So, and this is how Srila Prabhupada, he often, when he discusses the process of devotional service, he talks about how it's a science. So if we execute it in certain ways, we get certain results, and when we make offenses, mistakes, whatever, or, yeah, then we lose that taste. So sometimes the taste is there, sometimes the taste is less. So we should, and the tendency of the individual is to think, oh, the taste is less because the management is bothering me. The taste is less because that kirtan isn't so exciting because that person can't sing in tune or doesn't have a good beat or whatever, or the mridanga player is pretty yucky. You know what I mean? We look for external reasons, but it's actually my taste is getting diminished. So when we find that, this is what I'm trying to say, we should examine ourselves. The easy part is to look for the external reasons. It's because of this, it's good. It's not because of the external reasons. So many people have been in very difficult situations, like, for example, Prahlad Maharaj, in a very difficult situation, but still he was very convinced and enlivened and determined and made and exalted in that very difficult circumstance. We're reading, in one of my reading groups, we're reading Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita now, and Srila Prabhupada's just come to the States, and he's just started preaching, and he already got his typewriter stolen from room 304 in Dr. Mishra's building, and et cetera. Now he just moved to the loft in the Bowery. So the description is, when he went up to his room in the Bowery on the 4th floor, he had to step over people, drunks. Oftentimes there was two or three of them in the hallway, in the doorway. So he had to step over them sometimes. And so he went through, point being, he went through so many difficulties, but he was never affected by them. He never lost his determination to serve his spiritual master. Now I'm going to get back to the story of Vamanadeva. Sorry. But anyway, so that was one of the results of Bali Maharaj's, of Indra's offense. Then the demigods became weak, the demons became more powerful, and they came to the heavenly planet, Indra's planet, and they came with such a force that Indra realized, it's not even worth, he what do you call it? Assimilated the situation, assessed the situation. He assessed the situation, it's not even worth fighting back. There's no way I'm going to win. So all the demigods went into hiding. So then Mama gets nervous because her children are displaced. So who's the mother of the demigods? Aditi. Aditi, she gets disturbed that her children who deserve to be in the heavenly planets are now displaced. So she approaches her husband, who's her husband? Do you remember her husband? Aditi? Kashyapa. She approaches her husband, who's a great sage, and asks for him for a process that she can do, some tapasya that she can do to help the demigods regain their position, her sons. She performs what's called the Payovrata ceremony, which is very elaborate, blah, blah, blah. She does it very nicely. And the Supreme Lord takes birth. He agrees to take birth in her womb. She's praying for a solution for her sons, that they can be reinstated in their position. After performing this Payovrata ceremony perfectly, the Lord appears to her, and she expresses her desire to reinstate her son. And he said, okay, well then, the demons are so powerful at this particular point, it's not worth fighting with them. I'll figure out another way, to another solution. So he takes birth as her son, Vamanadeva. And he's so cute. He's so cute. Just a little, yeah, look at him. And he's so attractive. And he's just, Vamana means he's very small. So he's very small. He does, and he's on his birth. Let's see if we can get some. Okay, this is from the 18th chapter of the 8th canto. Sukadeva Goswami said, after Lord Brahma had thus spoken, glorifying the Supreme Lord's activities and prowess. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was never subject to death like an ordinary being, appeared from the womb of Aditi. His 4 hands were decorated. He appeared with 4 hands, conch shell, club, lotus, and disc, and he was dressed in yellow garments, and his eyes appeared like the petals of a blooming lotus. Then there's more descriptions of his all-attractive beauty. And when the Lord appeared, just like when Krishna appeared, there was the Brahmins, the atmosphere at the time was very auspicious, and everybody was feeling very happy. Perhaps you even felt it a little bit on our last few festivals we have. In Janmashtami time, there's something in the air that it's just a joyful time. Krishna is about to appear. So when Vamanadeva appeared also, the atmosphere was very joyful. Here's the description in text number 4. At that time, there was happiness in all directions, in the reservoirs of water, like rivers and oceans, and in the cores of everyone's heart. All of those entities felt happiness. The varieties of seasons displayed their respective qualities, and all living entities in the upper planetary system, in outer space, on the surface of the earth, were jubilant. The demigods, the cows, the Brahmins, and the hills and the mountains were all filled with joy. Why? Because they're pious. They're in tune to pious activities. They're inclined towards piety. They're inclined towards the Lord. So they all felt jubilant. There's no description, if you notice, that the demons felt jubilant at the appearance of the Lord. Okay, on the day of Shravana Dwadasi, the 12th day of the bright fortnight in the month of Bhadra, which we're about, what's the next auspicious day that's coming up this week after Vinod? The Purnima day. Bhadra Purnima day is a very auspicious day coming up. Okay, but we're in the 12th day right now. Okay, and the auspicious moment of Abhijit, which is daytime, the Lord appeared in this universe. Considering the Lord's appearance very auspicious, all the stars and planets from the sun to Saturn were munificently charitable. So that's a very interesting little sentence right there. And it's easy to just say, and all the stars and planets from sun to Saturn were munificently charitable. What's the next verse? And go on to the next. But there's a lot said there. And it's proof that everything is directed by a personality. You know, the stars, the planets, the movements, the auspicious, it's all directed by a personality. So they all became jubilant. Interesting, huh? And we have such a impersonal conception of things now. We've so totally disconnected ourselves from any relationship we have to the earth, any relationship we have to cows, any relationship that we have to auspicious planetary configurations. We've disconnected ourselves from that, and therefore wondering why I can't get happiness from my iPad and my iPhone and my computer and whatever else. Okay. Okay. Brahms, please. Okay, so when Aditi, I'm skipping up a few verses. When Aditi saw the Supreme Personality of God who had appeared from her own womb, having accepted a transcendental body by his own spiritual potency. In other words, she wasn't bewildered thinking, I just gave birth to this person. She realized he manifested himself by his own potency, and it appears that he came from my womb. Similar, but different circumstance. When, after the Battle of Kurukshetra, when the Pandavas were when Krishna was about to leave and go back to Dwarka, Uttara, the wife of Abhimanyu, Uttara comes running to the Lord, says, please protect me, please protect me. A fiery arrow is coming quickly towards me. It's about to destroy my embryo. If you want, let it kill me, that arrow, but don't let it destroy my embryo. So Krishna's there, manifested. She's talking to him, approaching him, talking to him, full of anxiety. And at the same time, simultaneously, he's appearing within her womb. He's already within her womb to protect the child anyway. He's already there anyway, because Krishna's inside and outside everything. And we can say that, but then we think of how is it manifest and how does it play out in things. And it's quite thought-provoking, isn't it? So he's there within her womb anyway, but he manifests within her womb and he saves the embryo, and he's simultaneously out anyway. She's talking. So this situation, Aditi sees the Supreme Lord and is realizing, yeah, he's manifesting himself by his own potency, but he's feeling, but he's she's not feeling she gave birth to him. He's there. Do you remember what Devaki's feeling? Do you remember what Devaki's response was when she saw the Lord appear in this prison cell when he first manifested Devaki? And what her reaction was? Anybody remember? Yes. Yes. But the reason that she wanted that, she said, people are going to make fun of me. That they're going to, how are they going to understand that I gave birth to the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So can you just it just was an interesting reaction, if you ask me. Anyway, so back up here to Aditi. So she's seeing the Lord, and then all the demigods say, here the Lord has come. Let's bring him a birthday present. Let's bring him a new present. So different people brought different things that Krishna had empowered them with to begin with. Krishna had empowered the demigods with different potent powers, and they came and offered that back to the Lord. And at this present moment, I'm forgetting who it was. Do you remember who it was that finally offered him underwear? Was it his mother or one of the other It was another demigoddess offered him. They're giving him an umbrella, they're giving him this, they're giving him that. His motherly mothers give him some underwear to wear. I thought that was cute too. Okay, so Vamanadeva has a mission. So he immediately begins to execute his mission, and his mission is to somehow or other reinstate the demigods in position. So, but his intention is not to do it in a violent way. So he goes to where Bali Maharaj is offering a sacrifice through the instruction of Sukracharya, and he's enters the arena. And now, okay, here's another little piece of information in case you're not totally familiar with this situation. Bali Maharaj, what's Bali Maharaj's lineage? Do you remember who Bali Maharaj's father? Virochana. Yeah, great, thanks. Virochana. And who's Virochana's father? Prahlad. So Bali Maharaj is in the family of great devotee, Prahlad. But remember, Prahlad's quote unquote family was a demoniac family. So they had demoniac tendencies, but they were at the same time very devoted. So Bali Maharaj, king of the demons, he was a devotee in heart, but he just wasn't manifesting it at that particular time. But as soon as he saw Vamanadeva in his little dwarf form, in his deer skin and his umbrella and his water pot and his kusha grass belt, as soon as he saw him, he was immediately attracted. Immediately. It wasn't even an introduction. Bali Maharaj was sitting on his throne or his position, whatever. Vamanadeva enters, you could say some distance away. He's coming forward, so he sees him from a distance. He's immediately attracted. Immediately attracted. And in his mind, he thinks, I just want to give him everything. Right then he thinks that, and it's just a passing thought. Hare Krishna, welcome. It's just a passing thought at the time. Now, there's something else in the assembly. There's somebody else in the assembly at the same time that where Bali Maharaj is executing. You know who, Prabhu? Kripacharya? Sukracharya, yes, and among others is Bali Maharaj's sister. Bali Maharaj's sister is there because, it's a big family affair, so she's there. And when she sees Vamanadeva, she thinks, he is so attractive. I wish I had a son like him. That's her passing thought. Remember that. We'll get back to it in a few minutes. So then Vamanadeva comes, and he comes for Bali Maharaj because at sacrifices, there's a custom that at the end of your sacrifice, you give charity to the Brahmins. So Vamanadeva comes up and he says, I would like some charity also. And Bali Maharaj says, yes, give. I am the proprietor of the 3 planetary systems. I can give you anything. I have such a huge treasury, this or that, whatever you want, no problem. He said, oh, I just want a piece of land. Just a piece of land. As paced by my 3 steps. And there he is, only this tall. So how big, 1, 2, 3, maybe not even the whole table's worth, right? And Bali Maharaj is totally willing. And at the same time, he's thinking, you're just inexperienced. You don't really realize. Why do you ask for such an insignificant boon? And then in a few days, you're going to have to come back and ask for some more. I can give you way more than that right now because it's all mine. I mean, mine illusion. It's all mine. And I'll give you more. He says, no, I've learned that if one isn't satisfied, if a Brahmin isn't satisfied with what he has, then no matter what happens, he's never going to be satisfied. If he can't be satisfied by controlling his senses, then those uncontrolled senses are going to force him to be dissatisfied with any in any circumstance. So, and so, but on the side is Sukracharya, the spiritual master. That's Sukracharya. Thank you, dear. All right, you're sure? That's okay. Sukracharya, he has, he's advanced, spiritually advanced. He's spiritually advanced, and he immediately recognizes Vamanadeva as the Supreme Personality of God, the form of Vishnu. And so he's on the side. Don't you dare give him anything. This is Vishnu. He's come to steal everything. Now, his motivation is, Sukracharya's motivation, he's motivated. He's motivated because Bali at that time is supporting Sukracharya. He's the beneficiary of Bali's charity. Sukracharya is benefiting from Bali Maharaj's charity all the time and his support. And so he's thinking, if Bali Maharaj loses everything, indirectly that means, and directly it means, I'm going to lose everything too. So he's there saying, no, don't give. This is Vishnu, don't give. Bali Maharaj is independently thoughtful. He's obligated, obliged, and had been benefited much by Sukracharya's advice in the past. But in the past, some of Sukracharya's advice was, Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you should give him everything. But now, in this circumstance, when he actually feels that he's going to take everything away, he's fearful of his own future, Sukracharya. So Bali Maharaj is thinking, well, you've told me to give everything to Vishnu. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So why are you telling me this contradictory advice now? And if this really is Vishnu, and he really is going to take everything away, how can I stop him? If he wants to take, and Srila Prabhupada tells us that story. If Krishna or Vishnu wants to take something away from you, how he has 10 hands and you have 2 hands, how are you going to protect your quote unquote possessions? You're not gonna. And if Krishna with his 10 hands wants to give you something, how are you going to be able to hold it with just 2 hands? You're not gonna. It's more than what you're capable of dealing with. So Bali Maharaj is thinking like that. And then he says another thing very interesting. He also says, if all my possessions, if I'm going to leave all my possessions at the time of death, or they're going to leave me, I have to leave them behind. Why not now gloriously give everything to Vishnu. I'm gonna be separated at the time of death from it anyway. Why not now gloriously give it to Vishnu and get the fame of having given everything to Vishnu, that eternal fame of a devotee? Just an interesting concept to bring, little lessons in our life. At present moment, probably none of you are particularly wealthy. I'm guessing, but I don't know everybody intimately, but I'm just guessing. None of you are probably particularly wealthy. And so therefore, when it's time to give in charity, we think, well, I'm just a student. I can just, maybe I only get whatever, you know what I mean? And so you think, I can't give in charity. But actually, the total opposite concept is true. The more you give, and this is it's a nice thing to remember, and also it's a unfortunate thing to remember because it makes you motivated. The more you give, the more you get. Because and especially if you give in the mood, this is Krishna's, whatever little Lakshmi I have now, Krishna's given it to me. And whatever little Lakshmi I deserve, I'm going to get, whether I give it all away or not. If I deserve more, I'm going to get more. If I don't deserve more, even if I hold more, thank you. If I hold on to it, I'm still going to lose it if I don't deserve it. So everything, just see how that concept broadens your vision a little bit. So, anyway, Bali Maharaj. So he's thinking, yes, I'm going to give everything to Vishnu. And it's too bad if you take, I'm going to give him, actually at that point, he wasn't thinking I'm giving everything to Vishnu. He's at that particular point, he's thinking, I'm going to let him take his 3 paces of land, So, so he says, yes, so be it. And he says, Tatastu. And I think he does an Achman or something. He makes some official consecration of Bali's promise that he'll give him the 3 paces of land. And of course, our Supreme Lord, being the master of all mystic powers, immediately just starts to expand a little bit. And he keeps going and going and going and going. And with one step of one of his first step, he conquers everything. He takes the upper planetaries. To be perfectly honest, I can't remember exactly his steps. So is the first step, does he take the upper planetary systems? Or all the lower planetary systems up to the upper? Anyway, he covers everything. How about that? He covers everything in 2 steps. Everything. Lower planetary system, middle planetary system, upper planetary system. And so then he says, Bali Maharaj, I've only taken 2 steps and I've got everything. So what am I going to do with my 3rd step? I've covered everything. There's nothing left. I've covered everything, and I still have. So you are untruthful because you promised me 3 steps of land, and you are untruthful. Therefore, we're going to arrest you. Bali Maharaj says, I surrender everything. Everything I have. I surrender everything I have in my possession. I and me and mine. And this is my head, and I surrender my head to you. And he bows his head, and Lord Vamana puts his foot on Bali's head, and therefore he completes his 3 promises. Almost. But he doesn't. That's his misconception. I still have my body and my head, giving my body and my head and my activities to you. The misconception is, hello, Prabhu, you're not your body. Your body belongs to Krishna. It's just everything is given to us by the Lord. Interestingly enough, as the story progresses, there was one particular person who noticed that misconception in Bali Maharaj, and that just happened to be his very dear wife. And his very dear wife, at the end of everything, was saying how he was still in illusion, thinking it's I and mine, and this is mine. Actually, everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. Anyway, so Vamana conquers the whole universe and Bali Maharaj, but still he has him arrested. He has him arrested for not fulfilling his promise. because again, that misconception, he's thinking that this is my body, but it's not right. So anyway, so Bali Maharaj is, can you imagine the state of consciousness of Bali Maharaj at that time? There he is, thinking, now he's disobeyed his spiritual master, who was not very pleased that he disobeyed him, and therefore cursed him, that he was going to be sent to hell for disobeying him, Sukracharya. Then Vamanadeva came and tricked him and took everything away, even though it looked like he was just going to take a few little paces of land. Vamanadeva took everything from him. And then when Bali offers his head, full surrender, Atma Nivedanam, he offers his head, Vamanadeva is satisfied and not satisfied at the same time. For that misconception, he's not satisfied, and arrests him and wraps him up with the snake noose, the ropes of Varuna. And there he is, once the king of the whole planetary system, Bali, now in front of everybody, he bound up with ropes and being humiliated. And he's offering prayers to the Lord in that full surrender. If this is what you want from me, then I accept this. I offer you everything. And he said, but it's quite unusual. No one before has treated a subordinate like this. But still, it all ends well. Now, if you remember back, one little point that I wanted to bring up was, remember when Vamanadeva first entered the assembly, and Bali thinks, I'm going to give him everything. And also his sister thinks, oh, he's so adorable. I'd love to have a son like him. So at this particular point, she's not thinking like that. That was one of her passing thoughts. I'd love to have a son like him. And now he's arrested and humiliated and defamed, etc., etc. That's what they're thinking, you know. That, she's thinking, and if I had a son like that, I'd kill him. Another little passing thought. But nothing is passing. Nothing is inconsequential in these pastimes. So she, in the future, in future incarnations of the Lord, she takes birth as Putana. Attracted to the Lord as a son, she approaches the Lord as a mother, but then she has the intention that she wants to kill him. Interesting, huh? That's... the Acharyas explain that in the purports. It's just so interesting that everything is connected in life. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, not therefore, but one thing. Prabhupada says, put some of the pieces of Bhakti Yoga scientifically applying together. Srila Prabhupada says, once you've begun the process of Bhakti Yoga, the process of Bhakti is so pure and potent that one is dragged to ultimate success. So ultimate success is there. Passing thoughts in devotional service will yield fructification sometime in the future, and will bring us closer to the Lord. So perhaps we can take advantage of that, understanding that a bit, and especially in Kali Yuga, the addiction. In previous yugas, people were so self-controlled, and the process of karmic action and reaction was so strict that if somebody thought of a sinful activity, they would get the karma for it. They didn't even have to do it. If they had a sinful thought, they would get a reaction from it. But Kali Yuga, our lifespan is short, our intelligence is short, so many memory, everything is shortened, and our disqualification is increased, our qualification is decreased. And so there's a special concession in Kali Yuga. If one thinks sinful or critical thoughts, one is not subject to karmic reaction. But if one thinks pious thoughts and devotional thoughts and devotional things of executing devotional activity, one gets the credit for that. So keep that in the back of your mind and try to infuse your mind and your mentality with positive thoughts and positive desires and devotional thoughts and devotional desires that will bear their fruit in due course of time by the transcendental arrangement of the Lord. So, anyone want to add anything to the story of Vamanadeva? Because it's a huge story, and there's lots of little lessons and parts. Yes, Advaita Prabhu. Oh, no microphones today. Today's microphone-less day. We're just now going to take care of that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you going into the very cause of Vamana's appearance, Vamana Lila, going back. But if I may, I can add, I heard some time back that the actual cause of Vamana coming and having parents was the Prahlad's love for his father. Because when Nrsimhadev, and these two are, in Dasha-avatar, after Nrsimhadev, there's Vamanadeva, and then all others. So that there's a sequence of connection. When Nrsimhadev saw Prahlad's love for his father, this generated a desire in Lord's heart, who didn't have parents, who came out of the pillar. So, that would be nice to have parents. So,
yes, good point.
So, thanks. That actually caused Vamana.
Yes, because who's Lord Nrsingadev's parents? The pillar. You know what I mean? He came from the pillar, etc. So and the Lord, he's Akila Rasamrita Murti. He's the source of all rasas. He wants to experience all those rasas. So yes, thank you for that. Any other points? Yes, Govinda.
So I'm reading it. Sukracharya also, when he realizes his mistake, he has what does he do? Do you remember?
Not right now, I don't remember, but as soon as you start to talk about it, I'll maybe remember by Krishna's grace.
He feels really remorseful, and then I remember he says that all of reactions contracted by chanting your holy name. I remember reading that, and...
Was that to this pastime, when he was asked to judge what the offenses were in the sacrifice?
Yes,
he said that all offenses, okay.
Yeah, because he committed offenses in the sacrifice, and so he wanted to find the remedy of how to rectify his offenses in the sacrifice. And then he said, the holy name can do everything.
The holy name is all powerful. Thank you.
And then I have a question.
Sure.
If you could elaborate, so it was glorious in one sense. Bali Maharaj, he every day we come here and we pay our obeisances. Here's my body, Krishna, my body. But what should be our mood when we offer obeisances? And what did Vamanadeva at the end? How did it rectify the situation? Because I feel like you like
I didn't talk about how
cliffhanger. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, thanks. So when we're offering our obeisances, our mood, we can develop the mood of Krishna. Okay. Everything belongs to you. I belong to you. My body belongs. Everything is yours. It's this misconception of I, me, and mine. Let me take what you're providing and use it in your service. So you provided this body, so let me take this body, take this, whatever, my abilities, my likes, and use them in your service. And therefore, then they'll be completely, perfectly aligned with you. And when Bali I didn't say every single part. Also, so when Bali was bound up by the ropes of Varuna, that time, at a certain point in time, Prahlad Maharaj comes, and Bali just he usually, he's usually very ecstatic to see his grandfather, and he offers him obeisances, and it's so many prayers and glorifications and this and that, and an exalted sitting place and everything. And there he is bound up, he can't do anything. So he just hangs his head, and Prahlad Maharaj gives him and offers prayers to Vamanadeva. And then Vamanadeva says to Bali that he promises, because Bali gave everything, he actually did. He actually gave everything, including his body, to the Lord. He became exalted to the position of a Mahajan. And the Lord said, I will always protect you, always. And he had said that before, right? He had said that to Prahlad too. He said, I'll always protect you. And therefore, he's protecting, and he said, I'll always protect you and all your family members. So that was Nrsingadev said that. So therefore, in his form of Vamanadeva, he's still offering that same protection, and that's why he's executing that, to protect and rectify misconceptions in Bali Maharaj, bring him to the platform of pure devotional service. He said, and I'll always remain your doorkeeper. Yes, Shruti. I'm just kind of baffled, so you can say.
Well, I was reflecting on how previously Shukracharya had actually revived Bali Maharaj back from death, because when the demigods and demons had fought originally after the churning of the ocean, the demigods had defeated the demons, and Bali Maharaj was killed by Indra, and Shukracharya actually brought him and others back to life. And I was thinking that even though Shukracharya did that, quite a huge favor. Later, when Vamanadeva did come and Shukracharya instructed him not to give him everything, Bali Maharaj still, he didn't consider like, oh, this person has maintained me and given me all these powers, but he went for what is actually what is devotional service, or what is the truth.
Essence.
So it just speaks a lot for his character, that he surrendered to Krishna, even though there was somebody who not just saved his life, actually saved him back from death.
Yeah, he actually died in that battle. Yeah, that's the thing, and there's just excuse me, there's so many nuances to these pastimes of the Lord. And as you were saying that about how Bali didn't consider that I'm so obligated to Shukracharya for having brought me back to life, and one of the reasons that Bali was performing that sacrifice anyway is because he had gained pious credits through previous sacrifices, so therefore he was strong enough to conquer the demigod. But if he didn't continue doing pious activities, quote unquote, he wouldn't have the strength to maintain himself as the king of heaven. So he was doing a sacrifice to maintain his position in the material world. And how was I saying that? Oh, okay. So then when Shukracharya told Bali to not give to Vishnu, Bali, independently of that obligation to Shukracharya to bring him to that position, understood the finer purpose in life was to render pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord, give him everything. He rejected that lesser advice. Interestingly enough, a whole nother circumstance was played out in the vicious assembly of us. Remember? Draupadi's in the queen. She's the queen of the emperor of the whole world. She's not just a nobody. She's not just a princess. She's not just a famous lady, or she's the queen of the person who's at that particular time, he was the emperor of the whole world. She's dragged into the assembly, and they're trying to disrobe her, And I'm forgetting the point of it. Okay, yeah, and she's calling to the elders that are there, these great, respected, learned, saintly personalities, Bhishma, Drona, she's stopped this, and they're silent because of what? Because of obligations they had in their to the king Dhritarashtra for him having maintained them. And so a little upstart like myself might think, well, why didn't they just reject it at that? Because they in their greatness also understood the plan of the Lord. They didn't have lapse of morality, but they were understanding the plan of the Lord, that the Lord has a plan here that's going to be played out, and therefore they remain silent. And then therefore, so many therefores. And then therefore, because there was an apparent question of the character of Bhishma. Bhishma? Yeah, Bhishma. Why didn't he stop the vicious assembly? Then at the end of Bhishma's life, when he's shot full of arrows and he's lying on the and he still hasn't left his body, although he should have left a long time ago. Krishna has him speak in full clarity, in full consciousness. He has him speak to Yudhisthira about the proper way to rule the citizens. And at the end of those prayers, he's asking for the Lord to come before him. He's remembering the gopis. He's remembering the Lord to become in his four-handed form as Parthasarathi, and not to leave him even at the time of his death, to glorify Bhishma. So at different times, Krishna is making different nuanced points. So it's not just black and white. It's always like this, and devotional service is always like this. Pure devotional service is always executed like this. Demonic activities are always executed like that. It's not black and white. There's always these nuances that enliven the stories, you could say. Nourish the stories. Yes?
The point to that thing is that it's the only case where spiritual masters can be rejected, when spiritual master explicitly instructs a disciple to not worship Lord Vishnu.
Good point. Yeah.
Which it can't be. We can't find nuance in that and just use it as an excuse to reject our spiritual master. It has to be very, very explicit. Like Lord Vishnu is right.
It's not a whimsical. Oh, I did it. Therefore, not a whimsical thing. Sure about the number, but many sisters married Kasyapa. Diti, mother of the demigods. Diti and demigods. I said it wrong. Thank you. Aditi is the mother of the demigods, and Diti becomes the deist of the demons. She becomes the mother of the demons. Okay. Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu.
All right, so same Kashyapa Muni, different sisters.
Yeah.
And then about Sukracharya. Two questions. You may have answered one with your explanation of like Dronacharya and the assembly, but the same Dronacharya that Sri Prabhupada talks about, it's like an impersonalist Mayavadi preacher. It's a different Sukracharya.
That's Sankracharya.
Oh, Sankracharya.
Okay.
And then I guess my last question is, this is the one you may have already answered, is why, if Shukracharya was advanced spiritually, why would he advise something like that? Is it the same reason that, like, is Dronacharya and Bhishma in the assembly?
That's a really good question. That's because one partial answer is because there's levels of advancement. Even somebody who's thinking that the absolute truth is an impersonal void That's advanced. You know, it's not the highest level of advancement. That's more advanced than someone thinking, I'm my body and I should eat, drink, and be merry and be happy here because I only have one life and Haribo or Bo or whatever. Go for it. Okay, so that there's another level of advancement. It's called Brahman. And there's higher than just Brahman is realizing, yes, the Supreme Lord has an energetic force that's present all in everything, but he also has a personal presence in the heart of every living entity. That's super soul, that the Lord is there in the heart of every living entity. So we're thinking, oh yeah, I'm not a body, I'm a soul. We're thinking, yeah, there's a soul inside my body. Well, there's two souls inside our body. There's many souls, but anyway, there's two predominant souls. There's the individual Jivatma, the individual person, and then there's super Paramatma. He's within the body. So that on that level, that's more advanced. And so then higher level advancement is to realize that the Supreme Personality Godhead has an energetic force. He's controlling everything. He's in the heart of every living entity, and he has a life of his own and a